The Wednesday week is sponsored by the Riverside Cafe, new outside bar, now open on match days.
Chance here, a great save by Turner from McClare. A terrific goal by Sheridan.
Brexman against Jones. Get in.
You could have two goalkeepers in there that would have trouble with saving that.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the Wednesday Week, the Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm Lord Hillsborough, and with me on the line, it's rather a sausage fest this evening, ladies and gents. We've got to Mr. James Marriott, first of all. James, you're being, how the devil are you?
I've not got a great deal of voice left today after last night. I've got to confess, my voice is struggling a bit. However, it has been a good day because iOS 10 has come out. Has anyone downloaded it yet? I need more people that I can send stupid drawings to.
No,
Can you send drawings?
Yeah.
I've been upgrading Fudge to Fudge iOS 10, Fudge OS 10, and that's why he's here today. So it's been a great success.
Well, hang on. Wait, is that a thing? iOS 10, you can send little drawings.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Eddie and I are Apple Watch wankers, and we've been sending pictures and knobs for months.
Yeah, cock and balls all day, every day.
This is all I've ever drawn. It's all I've ever used it for. Is just drawn a classic cock and balls. That's all I've ever used it for.
And of course, you've heard him there, ladies and gents. He's back. He's upgraded. It's Mr. Dan Fudge. How are you all been?
I'm only joking, kids. Just one. Yeah. How's it going, all Leach? You all right? Yeah. Everybody all right?
All the better for you. You were rather worried about you, oh boy. Very, very scary indeed. Eddie, oh boy, how the hell are you?
I tell you what, I think we're all buzzing, aren't we? Let's be honest. We're less than 24 hours removed from quite a special night at Hillsborough, but my enthusiasm tempered a little bit because we've been all watching the news, haven't we? Everything that's been going on, the big announcement about a national treasure and the changes that have been made. I think it's disgraceful that we've let Mello and Sugu leave. That's what it is, isn't it? That's what they've been talking about on the news. Mello and Sugu.
That's exactly what they've been talking about all day. Absolutely.
Have I got it wrong somewhere?
No, absolutely. You could not be more right if you tried. You make sure you tell everybody exactly that, Elby. And of course, we've got Rich Davis Dicky Owl being. How the devil are you?
I'm just slightly drier than I was last night. So I'm just nearly dry now.
Wait. Sorry, Rich. When you say you're drier, are we talking you're drier because of the rain or you're drier because of an incident like Beastie's fruit bag, to coin a
Nothing
phrase?
quite like that. No, literally just the getting caught on Wasley Lane in the deluge last night.
Just checking. Just kids listen to this show, for God's sake.
Yeah. But more wet than damp.
There weren't many Wednesday nights that left the ground yesterday evening that weren't moist, were there, after that? Right, then, ladies and gents, let's crack on. We've got a bit to get through. First of all, we'll hark back to the Wednesday Wigan game, shall we? Because that turned out to be a bit of a corker as well, didn't it, ladies and gents?
God, it feels like years ago, that game, doesn't it? It seems like such a long time ago.
I've completely forgot about it already. It's like, what Wigan game? I had to look back and find out what the result was. It just erased from the memory because we've got fresher memories already.
Last night was about 4 games in one, wasn't it? Wigan feels like it was about 3-4 games ago.
Just to quickly run through the Wigan game, of course, it started off with Mr. Grigg being on fire. Unfortunately, soon burnt out, didn't it? It was great for us. It didn't start fantastically, to be honest. We seem to have been a first half problem, don't we? It's getting a little bit odd, all this.
It seems funny to me that this is almost a repeat of last season, isn't it? That we've got quite a lot of new players and they're bedding in. And in theory, I think we all know where they're meant to play. But Carlos seems to put them in strange combinations, almost as if he needs to see them playing together to see what works and what doesn't. And first half against Wigan, and I don't think this is the first time this season, the jigsaw pieces were the right ones. They were just in completely the wrong order, weren't they?
I'm not sure any of us know what the right midfield, particularly what the right midfield is. We all think, well, Jones should be playing in the defensive midfield bit, and then Bannon comes in and plays brilliant there, and it's just so confusing. But it's just nice to have a lot of good players.
It is a tricky one, isn't it? Because certainly on paper, Abdi had a really good game against Wigan, because I think he was the only player in the entire EFL to have 100% pass rate. Although not if not if you believe the guys that sit behind me who said he was absolutely terrible. So that can't possibly be true. But I mean, ultimately, at the end of the game, I did, But I did at the end of the game look back and think, that's a great start. But I wasn't really sure about his performance. I'm not really sure that he certainly can pass the ball, but he wasn't cutting through their midfield kind of like a knife or anything. It was a bit of a weird game, wasn't it? I did notice that. So for the second game in the row, Liam Palmer played really well, but Tom Lees had a really shaky game. So have we got an issue here with Ramon in disguise? Is that what's going on? He's now taken Tom Lees' place. Because that pass for the first goal and a couple of other things, he was just shaky, wasn't he? And that never happens to Tom Lees.
If Ramon has the ability to accurately impersonate both Liam Palmer and Tom Lees, then he's possibly the greatest human chameleon of all time. So I don't think we can put this one on.
Didn't we rumble who Ramon was last night, though, Ed?
Say what?
Didn't we rumble who Ramon actually is last night? It's Joe Palmer.
I actually think Joe Palmer, it turns out, Liam does have an evil brother, and it's actually Joe Palmer, the chief operating officer of Sheffield Wednesday. he's come in, and I think he put Liam to work in the corporate hospitality last night and said that's why you're not playing. I've got no idea.
What, he was still navigating Rocket Leaf before he turned into the Jackal later on. I kind of like that.
So I said to a few people after the match, because there were a few people who were having a bit of a moan, weren't there, about the performance not being amazing. Carlos still not really quite sure what his ideal team is and what his best team is. But I just think when you go 1-0 down after 4 minutes, seriously, what is the best case scenario that you hope for? That you get 3 points out of the game, and how it matters it doesn't matter how you get there, does it? It's just about, if you can get 3 points, then you've done well, because particularly against a team like Wigan, they're going to park 11 men behind the ball, which is exactly what they did, and they're going to be hard to break down. And it didn't matter how we did it, we just did it, and especially after such a poor run, first win since the opening day of the season, or opening weekend of the season. And actually, you know what, we played some pretty decent stuff at times. I don't think that we were terrible by any means. I thought that we played some nice football, and I think there were a lot of positives to take from it, and 2 massive goals as well. Fletcher off the mark, and it was the return of Fessi, wasn't it? Fessi is back.
We have the players that can take the game by the scruff of the neck, even when things were a bit ineffectual. I think you're right. I think that Abdi stat is absolutely brilliant, because as much as you look at that and think, bloody, he's had a flawless game, it was 71 passes without any particular impact from any of those 71 passes. So at that point, it requires players of real quality to step up and change the game through force of will. And certainly both Fletch and Forestieri have the ability to do it. And it looks right now like they both really have the will and the desire to make it happen, because both of those goals were, were a player taking that phase of the game in his hands and forcing the game in the way that he wanted to do it. The way that Fletcher held off the defender for his goal was absolutely fantastic. And then, of course, Fessi, being there, for what was effectively a rebound, wasn't it? And to smash that ball home from that angle, it just shows how much those two really wanted it. And I think if we maybe lacked anything, I don't think it was skill, I don't think it was talent. I think we just maybe lacked a bit of that impetus early on. And those two decided that they were going to be the ones that were going to change that. And that's how you win games at this level, especially when you're coming off a bad run, especially against teams like Wigan, who are going to make themselves hard to beat, especially when they're 1-0 up. When you're trying to build a bit of a run and start the season the way that you want to start it, you need players.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I mean, Fessi did it against Villa as well. I mean, it was a game destined into obscurity for me, that Aston Villa game. And, it was a game of 2 halves and whatever we've said about it in the past. But it took Forestieri to just take it by the scruff of the neck and have a pop. And that's what Fletcher and Forestieri did for us against Wigan. I mean, let's not forget, Will Grigg is on fire. I mean, we can't, we can't ignore that. He is a flame. And yeah, we've got two players there that can really just go, do you know what, the tactics aren't working. Let's just go at it 3 cockerels to the way that Yorkshire people say couldn't. You know what I mean? So that's what we did, and that's the type of players we got. And to come from behind shows tremendous character and what not. But I'm sure we're going to get to that and all that nonsense soon.
However, I have got to just hark back to the analysis of the guys that were sat behind me on the North Stand, because clearly we don't know what we're talking about. These guys were they're serious football fanatics. So despite what we may think, Palmer is actually useless. Wallace was terrible. We can't pass. Even Abdi, he can't pass. We can't shoot. Generally, we're awful. None of them are good enough. Whereas Wigan played some really beautiful football at times, and they ran us ragged. They played us off the park, and they deserved to win. Which is funny because even the Wigan manager himself afterwards said sometimes you just have to accept that the best team won.
They sound really positive guys.
I would like to say thankfully they weren't there last night. I would like to say thank you to the slightly older guys that were sat behind us on the North Stand on Saturday for completely ruining my football experience for the day.
What you should do next time, Albin, is take them some of your wonderful blondies and just put something nasty in there and just watch them toddle off the toilet and never come back. So, of course, the Wigan game came and went, and it was great. I mean, as Fudge quickly alluded to earlier, the photos of Fessi when he scored that goal are just incredible, and you could see just how much he loved getting back into it and obviously putting all that nonsense behind him. Now, he ran off from the goal, banging his chest, banging the badge, and yeah, sceptical Wednesday nights might think that was an act, if you like. Personally, I thought it was brilliant.
Did anybody else clock him, actually, as they finished celebrating and all the rest of the team walked away? He actually apologised to the North Stand. He put his hands together and bowed to the North Stand. I don't think many people saw him do that.
He was crying as well. There was emotion there, and I don't know what the basis of that emotion was. Maybe he felt ashamed about the way that it'd gone. Maybe he felt like he had everything in his hands and it ruined it a little bit, and he just wanted. But maybe he just wanted to show how much he really does believe the things that he said, and we don't know that. None of us will know that. But the fact is, he responded emotionally to that goal in a way that I don't think I've seen a Sheffield Wednesday player since Francesco Sonetti when he scored, for us back in the day. I literally openly cried in front of the cop. I don't think I've ever seen a player have an emotional reaction like that. I've seen a physical reaction at Brentford a couple of weeks ago, but an emotional reaction, very slightly different.
Right then, ladies and gents, so of course the Wigan game came and went, and then our next opponents were Bristol City. And again, we all know what happened, but the first half, Jesus Louise, it was chuffing terrible, weren't it? Let's be honest.
Well, before that,
the first half, what about the weather, mate?
Where did that come from?
That wasn't a storm. That was Mr. Lee in the changing room invoking the power of Castle Grayskull for later on in the game. It has been taken care of. We don't need to worry about that. It's been wonderful. But no, you're quite right. It was rather wet. That
was surreal. We were all sat outside in the new outside bar of the Riverside, now open on match days, enjoying the sunshine, which was beautiful. And then suddenly it just went dark, didn't it? It went almost pitch black. It was a little ominous, and we just kind of like thought, I think it might rain in a minute. Should we just go inside? It'll probably only be a little shower. Crikey, blimey! It was. I've never seen rain like that. It was absolutely. It was just mental, crazy stuff. And I obviously was inside the pub, so didn't get wet. Eddie, am I right thinking that you were inside the pub? You didn't get wet. Dickie Owl, what happened to you?
I went to watch my kids train. Right, trying to be a good dad. Thought I'll go and watch my kids train. Not going to the pub before the match. Let you guys down. I know I let you down really badly, but So I went to see my kids play. Set off about 7. Parked up in the dial house, all fine. And as I got further down towards the Tesco, my phone pinged, and it was our cow Molly, the ice cream place, on Periscope. with this video of the rain and the storm absolutely leathering it down. I'm thinking, oh shit, that's about a mile behind me. So I started to run, and by the time I got to the top of Wasley Lane, that was it. Game over. I just walked down after that. I was
Just started to run. I love the way that, Rich, that your optimism carried you to the point where you're trying to outrun weather. You know what I mean?
That's exercise to me. And I got absolutely pissed wet through. I've never been as wet in my life. Hey, there we go. So, yeah, but it was some of the guys that were turning up. My brother was in the stand trying to ring me, and he'd done a video of kind of the weather, and the guy turned up at the side of us, took his shirt off and actually wrung it out at the side of me. And the kind of water that was coming out of that was just, it was bonkers. Very surreal.
I've just got a vision of like Storm from the X-Men turning up in Ecclesall Road, and Rich going, "It's all right, I've got my Wednesday shirt, kids. I can sort this out. I can get you all out of the way. Don't worry, with me supersonic speed. Don't worry."
I'll tell you what, the brand new jacket was a godsend. That was. It was just my pants and everything else that was wet. Top half was dry, but you know.
Same old story, eh? Top half dry, bottom half wet through.
The pants again, yeah.
It was and inside the ground as well. Obviously, there was like almost like a small lake that appeared on the bottom section of the north stand, at the back of the stand. But it made it quite slippy, and I was wearing appropriate footwear for the weather in the middle of the afternoon, not for the weather by kind of the middle of the evening. So
you're wearing espadrilles. You're wearing linen espadrilles.
Yeah, loafers,
something like that. I may have gone slightly flying as I rushed round the corner at the bottom of the north stand, and I must have slid for a good 10 meters. It was like something out of the Olympics. It was brilliant.
There's an old Lee Evans sketch in this, isn't there? You know, the one where he's talking about how fast can you run in shoes? It's the shoes. It's just one of them. Anybody of an age will remember that little bit of banter.
But in all seriousness, how much credit was we give to the ground staff? Because obviously 15 minutes delay, but that pitch handled that amount of water, and the way they worked on it for half an hour.
Gonna stop you there, Rich. Stop you there. Not just the ground staff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Club legend himself, the Bulldog, also went out there with a pitchfork and got involved. And, it's stuff like that that endears them to the fans. Not that Bulldog needed any endearing, but if you were on the fence with him before, one, what's wrong with you? And two, well, that should have pushed you over the one side, surely to God.
So we've got, seriously, in terms of Wednesday legends, we've got Howard Wilkinson, played for us, managed us, was our chairman. I think this is actually a decent challenge to that, because Bully has played every position for Wednesday, including groundsman. So I'm looking at the rest of the season. I expect him to be physio. I expect him to be a steward. I expect him to be Aussie Owl. So, there's got to be some sort of bingo card.
What do you mean you expect him
this season?
You expect him to be Aussie Owl? What do you mean by that? What, like Aussie Owl's not real? What's the matter with you?
I've ruined it again, haven't I? Kids, don't listen to this bit. Dan Fudge is swearing again.
He's going to do a knob gag in 5, 4, 3, 2.
But no, it was, to be fair, what we said, the ground staff were incredible. Yes, it was brilliant that the body got involved, and everybody got involved with the squeegees and the show snubbles, their snow shovels, etc.
Not going to let you get away with that one. What was that?
That was brilliant. That reminded me of a time when I was doing a live news bulletin on Dern FM way back when, and I had to read a line, and it was talking about, it was the week before Penistone Show, and the line was something to do with the Penistone Show site, which came out as Penistone Surshite. Live on the radio.
Wow.
I've never been back to Penistone since.
Next week on the Wednesday Week, ladies and gentlemen, Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt.
That's nearly as good as Lord Hillsborough's Crystal Phallus the other week. That was one of my favourites.
But yes, brilliant job by, of course, all the ground staff there. And, of course, after all that, it was just rubbish for a bit, weren't it?
Oh, we had a football match as well, didn't we? Yeah, do you know what? I think I'm going to probably sound a bit different to everyone else because I didn't think the first half was that bad. All right, yeah, we went in 2-0 down, but Bristol City had 2 chances and they scored 2 goals. If they hadn't have scored those 2 goals, then at half time we'd all have been saying, yeah, it's not quite right, but you know what? It's coming. We've been creating chances. It's all right. So I don't buy that we were terrible in the first half. Yeah, we went in 2-0 down, and it did need to change because. When you're 2-0 down, you've got to change it. You've got to find a different way of breaking through that, past that team. And he brought on Wallace and he brought in Fessi. And we really learnt something about ourselves, didn't we? I think on Tuesday night, because I think we learnt, although whenever we buy a new midfielder and everyone says, oh, who's going to drop out? The first person you think of is Wallace, don't you? You see Wallace as being disposable. Well, he showed last night just how important and how integral he still is to this team. Not necessarily saying that he should be starting every game, but he's still got a real role to play. He took us to Wembley single-handedly last season, and he's done some great stuff this season, and he really helped change the game last night. And of course, we also learned that Forestieri needs to play every minute of every game for us this season. We are not the same team without him on the pitch, and whatever has happened, I don't care anymore. Give that guy a 5-year contract. Make him our best paid player right now. Just do it. Do it.
That second half, I think, we talked about last season, haven't we? That second half was the first time this season that I think we saw the togetherness, the understanding, the style of play even that we had in that run-in last season. And you're absolutely right to single out Ross Wallace because he was the fulcrum around everything else. But Kieran Lee was absolutely immense in the second half. Forestieri played the way that Forestieri always does. And I tell you what, another massive shout-out for a guy who wasn't here last season. Adam Reach, I think, showed that he is worthy of playing in this team and thriving in this team. Yeah. The space that he found, the touch that he had, the vision that he showed, Adam Reach was absolutely cracking last night. And that second half performance basically revolved around those 4 players, creating things in midfield and pulling a Bristol City team that, let's be honest, at 2-0 up, just parked the bus. They sat in front in 2 banks of 4. And we moved the ball around to the point where we got them turned, and that created stuff for Fletcher, and that created stuff for Hooper. Fantastic! What a great performance second half. Forget about the drama of it. Just as a team performance, it was as complete as we've seen this season.
I think it was a surreal kind of just the fact that obviously Hutchinson gets sent off, and we there start looking like we're going 3-1 down. Hammers it against the post, comes out, and they're down to 10 men, which is just. Such a bizarre kind of turnaround, and then it was like from all of a sudden potentially being 3-1 down and down to 10 men, it was still 2-1. Both teams got 10 men, all to play for, and I mean my brother was absolutely berating Kieran Lee for losing the ball for the penalty, but I like you said, I'll big him up as well. I thought he really kind of dug in to try and make amends on his mistake and did that, quite well in the end.
Listen, I'm not going to play devil's advocate. I'm just going to say how I feel. This is the second game where we've had to come from behind on the bounce, and it's worrying. I can't. Yesterday, once we've come down off the ceiling, that we've managed to essentially rob a team that are in the ascendancy. Let's not forget in the first half we got schooled by one player individually. Do you know what I mean? And you think, well, what happened? And once again, I thought Tom Lees wasn't on his best game. And I know I sound like a naysayer. I know I sound like a textbook northern knobhead going, well, be rubbish. In fact, I sound like those people who sit behind James on a weekend. But,
was it you? Because one of them was a bit wrinkly. Was it you?
Listen, not all people whose face look like they need a good iron are me. You know what I mean?
Whether you're celebrating a birthday, a wedding or anniversary, maybe you've passed your driving test, or you've landed a new job. Well, whatever your reason for a party, the Riverside Cafe is the perfect location on Catch Bar Lane overlooking Hillsborough Stadium. To inquire about hiring us for your function, call 07989 856 054 or 0114 232 6121.
So, anyway, in a Wednesday week first, on one of these new features that we're going to do every week and then forget about it the week after. I'm going to bring somebody in on this. Now, this is a podcaster and journalist, expert on Bond, boxing, and Bristol City, Mr. Dan Waters. Can you hear us? Are you there?
I am.
All the way based in Bristol. There he is over there. Now, obviously, Dan, you've just heard us waxing lyrical about how mint we all were. How did you see it from your side?
Kind of a little bit of same old from us, really. I heard somebody say about us parking the bus. I think we don't really know what we are at the moment as a team. We've got a lot of new individuals that have come into the side and don't, it's gelled in spurts. And I think little LJ's got a bit of his dad in him in terms of, I think it was the day that me and you became friends, Fudge. We parked the bus and beat you. I think Brian Wilson scored in the 7th minute, and for literally almost 90 minutes, we did nothing but sit back, and we got away with that one. But
that's exactly it. There was a geezer in the pub that said that your goalkeeper should be playing for Brazil, if I remember rightly.
There was, yeah, and so did the goalkeeper himself, if I remember.
In terms of the game itself, and this geezer who decided to slap us around the first half. I mean, who's he? Where's he come from? Where have you found him? Because to be honest,
Sammy Abraham.
Yeah, every time somebody gets signed, there's always a Twitter outrage from the Wednesday fans. Go, why did we get in for him? Oh, the Monday
hang on. Last week's podcast, I pointed out this Tammy chap and mentioned that he's been on Chuffing Fire.
Well, Lord H, you know full well that I don't listen to the shows that I'm not on. So,
So no, you're quite right. He had a belter, didn't he?
Well, I don't think I'm being premature in saying that he is literally the greatest footballer ever to lace up a pair of...
You sound like a Wednesday night now, B.
No, he's coming to the side. We knew very, very little about him other than he was very prolific at youth level, which doesn't necessarily translate to the men's game. But me and Fudge had a conversation earlier where, we're not playing to his strengths even. I mean, he clearly likes to play a lot like Codger did on the shoulder of the last defender. And I mean, I've seen all our home games, and we've not put one through ball in. We've not put anything through for him to latch onto. But the kid's just proven himself to be a natural finisher. I mean, there's a stat going. Twitter was going nuts with the stat last night. I think he scored with 7 of his 8 last touches of the ball, or something like that. I mean, he's prolific without doing anything else. But he's clearly capable of so much more. And it's just us as a team that are not, they're not playing to his strengths. And if we do, we could be a better side than we've proved to be so far.
One thing I did notice after the game, the young lad Abraham, he did have a bit of a chat with one of the Bristol cameras pointed at him, and he did mention that he were really happy to score 2 goals, and after scoring 2 goals, it'd been lovely to win the game. And he finished the sort of little chat off by saying, "But it's a team sport, isn't it?" And then pulled a little face like he was having a bit of a dig at the defence. Is this a problem we're having with Bristol, the defensive issues at the moment there, Dan? Or
up until the last 2 games, absolutely not. Flint and Magnuson, who is my man crush for that kid, is off the charts. I mean, you've not seen him, Google him. He's an Icelandic Adonis. He's beautiful. But they've been brilliant. They've been absolutely fantastic so far. And the last couple of games, they've it's been a blip. But Flint's only had 1 season of Championship football. Horner Magnuson is 7-8 games into his Championship career. So I think Abraham can be excused for a little bit of throwing his toys out of the pram, because he did.
No, I'd be wazzed off as well if I had a game like that.
Well, sorry, wazzed off, Dan. It means slightly annoyed.
Good job we got Fudge to translate.
Jesus Christ, that's saying something, isn't it?
In it. So as it stands right now, you're middle of the table. It's a decent season so far for you. I mean, what are Bristol City aiming for this season?
I think consolidation. I think as long as we're in the division next year, okay, we've spent a bit of money, but we've recouped bloody millions. So, that's fine. So, I think when you're going away to a club like Sheffield Wednesday, okay, you would obviously be expecting to hold on to a 2-0 lead, but things happen. I mean, I don't think the ref covered himself in glory. I'll be the first to admit I wasn't there, but from what I can see, he kind of evened it up with our red card, and I think the right thing to do was let Lee Tomlin take the penalty as well. I know a lot of our fans are a little bit miffed that Tammy didn't get the chance to score a hat trick. He's an 18-year-old kid. Let's not heap much onto him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's not going to stop Lee Tomlin taking a penalty if Lee Tomlin wants to take a penalty. He would eat him.
I run a very showbiz nightclub in Bristol, and I get all of the City players down, and he is very fat. You know,
There you are, Wednesday week exclusive, kids.
he's a chubby fucker, but he kind of is what it is. Some of the stuff that he is capable of with the ball is what fans go to watch football for. So we can excuse him the odd pie.
Hey, you know what? He tore us a new one when we were down there at Easter. So yeah, you know, I was very, very glad that Lee Tomlin didn't do a repeat job on us last night.
So there you are. You see, even another team thinks we're a team to behold. They're scared of us. They're scared of us. tell your mum and dad. That's the way I've interpreted it, Dan. Now listen, I'm not. Does anybody else want to ask Dan anything? By the way, I feel like I've got him on as my guest here. Does anybody else ask him? Feel free to ask him whether he puts that accent on or.
I just wanted to ask something from last week's podcast where Lord Hillsborough called you Bristol. How does that go down when you get called Bristol? Is it very similar to when we get called Sheffield?
Yeah, I think it's probably a similar thing to you getting called Sheffield. Whilst we acknowledge the fact we are the only team in Bristol, we are Bristol City. It's definitely goes down too well. As
I said last week, I make no apologies for my guff because, quite simply, I don't give a chuff about other teams. I just care about the Wednesday. No offence, Dan.
Listen, Dan, thank you for your time. However, I can't let you go without telling me the anecdote of when your sister was moving house and was looking through the contract. I'll leave it to you for this one.
I'm not sure it's entirely relevant to a Sheffield Wednesday podcast.
It's not in the slightest,
This is why
but it makes
you're
me
here,
laugh.
Dan. Tell the story.
Essentially, my sister got out of the shallow end of the gene pool, and she was moving out for the first time. And so she was perusing the contract, as you do. You know, she's a very experienced lawyer. And she noticed there's T&Cs on the contract, and my sister has assumed, why I've got no idea, but she's assumed that means that she gets tea and coffee included with her house.
But she had to pay for the sugar herself.
Yeah, if you want sweet and low, that's extra.
The worst thing was that neither of my parents corrected her. Neither one said, no, that is not a thing. So my parents were stupid, or they just like to indulge my sister's stupidity.
To be fair, we have to treat Fudge very much the same on the podcast, Dan. We have to look after him carefully and make sure.
Yeah, Dan's aware. He's aware. He looks after.
Abroad, do you know what I mean? I'm more than aware of what he can be like.
Actually, yeah. I think Dan spends most of our time abroad just apologising for me. There was one time where I was trying to crack on with what was her name off of Big Brother?
Ashleen
Morgan, hoity-toity off of
I remember her.
Morgan. Yeah, I was trying to crack on to her in this nightclub after an England game.
Until she asked him what he did for a living. He went, "Oh, I'm a DJ."
like Harry Enfield in it's Kevin and Perry Go Large. Yeah, said it like that.
Everybody got laid that night.
All right, Don, thanks for your time anyway, Dan. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Dan. Pleasure to speak with you. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Walter. See you later.
Thank you.
Right then, ladies and gents, a couple of last little things from the Bristol game. First thing we do need to mention, a chap popped a little tweet out. A chap called Roger Strain popped a little tweet out on Twitter saying that this would be his 800th consecutive Wednesday game. How amazing is that?
Wow, fair play.
Last one that you missed. Last one that you missed was back in 2001. It was a Wimbledon game you missed. Now, surely there's some point in the last 16 years where you've got a family do or a meal or a wedding or something that you just couldn't possibly get to a game for.
Oh, they all come second, honestly.
It
Well, you take them to the match.
So impressive.
You take them to the match with you.
I just hope he didn't leave early before the end of the game last night. His 800th game, he thought, "Oh, this is. I'm going to get a head start down Penistone Road. I'm off."
There was a funny tweet to last night when I posted the picture of the video of the rain. and some guy basically said, "Oh, I'm glad I stayed at home tonight. I didn't go to the footy." And then at full-time whistle, people all piled on him like, "Bet you wish you brought a brolly now."
You're not allowed. Given the new signage we've got up, brollies aren't allowed.
Forget that. That's why last night happened. If we'd have all had brollies and flat caps like in the old days, everyone would have been bone dry.
Yeah, that's right. That's why it rained. It weren't raining anywhere else. It was like when they have a downpour in EastEnders and they stick a big hose pipe up in the air. And it was just there to see how many people had illicitly smuggled in brollies into the game. Like, yeah, go on, I'm going to make you all you rule breakers. You know what I mean? And because you've got that sign outside now that says, no brollies, no having fun, no heavy petting, no bombing. I think that's at Erithorpe Leisure Centre. But they've got all these signs up and they've gone, I'm gonna see who the rule breakers are here.
Right then, ladies and gents, so let's crack on with a little bit of this week's Wednesday news, shall we? First things first, there seems to be a little bit of a bromance happening over there on Instagram between Mr. Sasso and, unfortunately, not Eddie, but Big Dave. There seems to be a little bit of loveliness happening over there.
Hello.
Listen, before we start this, can I just point out that until Vincent Sasso came onto the pitch last night, we were 2-0 down. We won 3-2. Vincent Sasso was on the pitch. That's
he still looks, honestly, Ed, he still looks shaky as shit. I can't get on with him. I really can't.
He was
despite
poor, wasn't he, last night?
I will kill you and I will eat your children. Never say that.
Shaky shit.
I'm the Sasso.
I like the way that Eddie pronounces it, Vincent, just like Reda Johnson pronounced it, Wolverhampton. You know what I mean?
Do you know what? While we're on that subject, there were two things last night that reminded me of Wolves away. One was that it was the same referee apparently as Wolves away, and the other was Vincent Sasso just being a bit crap.
You fall out of love with people, can't you? Very quickly. And I've fallen out of love with both of you. Vincent came on. He looked fantastic. He makes that new kit look amazing. And he spent a week basically having a sleepover with Newey, hasn't he? Let's be honest here. He's probably tired. They stayed up late at night. And so I think he
arm wrestling.
Yeah, probably, in front of the fire. Probably
drinking red wine. Yeah, I bet they do.
Exactly.
I bet they unwind with a game of chess and a dominoes and a red wine.
In all seriousness, he was a bit rubbish last night, wasn't he? When he came on, he was a little bit no worse than Tom Lees, but he was a little bit shaky. But I'm going to let him off because those Snapchat stories and Instagram videos that him and Newey put on are the funniest thing I've seen in ages. The fact that they refer to each other as Bay all the way through, I think it's absolutely brilliant. It's another example of how good the team spirit is. And when the team spirit is that good between two gorgeous hunks of manhood like Vincent Sasso and Atin Newey, I don't even know whether that's
I enjoyed it.
Welcome back, Vincent.
Right then, moving on. Rich or Bean, we have been trying to find some Wednesday players of old, and I believe this week you've been looking for information on Mr. Pearce.
Yeah, Andy Pearce was the one that we put a call out for last week, and we have actually, better than the Des Hazel, apart from stalking like Vic did on that one, we've actually found him. And I had somebody on Twitter, Simon at Yorkshire73, actually sent me a message and said, Andy Pearce currently lives in the West Midlands. He works as a contracts manager for a cladding company, and he's just completed a contract for the company that Simon works for. Says he's a really nice bloke, still keeps an eye on the Owls. And if you ask him, he shared many stories apparently with him, and his favourite one is that goal, which some people might get, but others won't. But I think
some
most
people
of
of a certain age, unfortunately.
Yes, yeah. From a goal he scored against Sheffield United and the old Andy Pearce. So yeah, we found him, and he's on Twitter as well, at Andy Pearce 66, which James found. So we're hoping to try and get him on the podcast if we can in a few weeks' time, which would be great.
Does he still have the hair? Because that's important. I mean, does he still have a lovely head of hair, if not trimmed down? I'm going to need to know these things.
I have seen a picture of him. I was sent a picture of him, but I'll try and find it again so I can post it. But he hasn't got the hair, but he does have a similar sized belly to what I have.
They always do.
So he's discovered the beer, obviously. But so yeah, that was great. But and then I put a lot of thought this week into trying to get a Wednesday legend that we could try and find for next week. And there was only one name that stood out as such a legend, and that was John Beswetherick. So, we need to find out what John Beswetherick is doing after that one great performance in pre-season, and whatever else he did for us. So that's your challenge this week, readers.
I've got a feeling that John Beswetherick went on to hold upwards of 1,000 different jobs, where on the first day he got given Employee of the Month. He was sacked by the end of his trial.
Hang on, I'm pretty sure that he that's called the Andy Sinton Award. Or the Reggie Blinker Award. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's a similar connotation.
But yeah, if you know where John Beswetherick is, let us know. I'll tweet out later in the week to have a shout out for him.
Fantastic. Right then, other Wednesday news. Of course, as Wednesdayites, we are all aware of Hayley's Cancer Fund. We've spoken about it on the podcast before. And Hayley's Cancer Fund did pop a little tweet out this week saying that Mr. Forestieri has donated £10,000 to Hayley's Cancer Treatment Fund, which is absolutely
amazing.
Incredible.
Amazing. Fair play, Forestieri. I was going to do a joke about this is why I went on strike, yada yada, but no. I don't want to take away from what he's done, and fair play, Fernando.
No, so I don't know
did you hear that, by the way? That was done Dan Fudge winding himself in. That is growth, that. You don't get that.
Very often. Not many people have experienced that, ladies and gents. You should be privileged and proud of yourself for doing that.
Those wrinkles are maturing you.
You're welcome.
Before we go any further, I have a news flash, which is all thanks to the brilliant where-r-they-now.co.uk website, where apparently John Beswetherick, since ending his playing career in his late 20s, he's now a policeman in the Avon Constabulary. So don't take the piss too much, Rich, or I'll have you.
Yeah, exactly.
Constable Beswetherick.
Every time he puts the handcuffs on, he misses. Yeah.
I love that name is a proper copper's name. You know what I mean? It's P3 Beswetherick. What's going on here then? All right.
But anyway, James, thanks for buggering up Where Are They Now for next week. Thanks for that.
Have you got a new one, Rich?
Hey, that's not to say that that's accurate. That's not to say that that's true.
Yeah. Have you been arrested by former Wednesday fullbacks? Give us a call on Crime Stoppers. Oh, no.
Probably not the best idea, actually, for a job. We're getting all sorts of trouble for that. But no, fantastic. Obviously, well done, Fessi. Brilliant news and cracking chap. Next thing, Eddie, you've had rather a special time just recently with your young man, haven't you? And I don't mean Vincent Sassel.
Yeah, so the Wigan game, as much as it does feel like an age ago, doesn't it, to us now? But it was my son's 9th birthday on Sunday. So on Saturday, as a surprise for him, we arranged for him to be the mascot for the game. And what a fantastic experience it was. To say we got treated like lords, if you'd pardon the expression, your lordship.
Absolutely.
We rocked up at midday. Even the doorman on the south stand knew his name and was expecting him. We were ushered through for a full ground tour. And about quarter to one, it must have been. We rocked into the home changing room to find that there was a good half a dozen of the Wednesday squad there. I think they turned up early because their Sky had been cut off, so they wanted to watch the Manchester derby. So. There were quite a few of them in there. Tom Lees kept padding in and out wearing flip-flops with socks as well, which I find quite worrying, flip-flops and socks. Maybe that explains the drop.
I bet I learned that in Leeds on holiday in Skegness.
But we had an absolutely fantastic time. So Tom got all his photos taken, with the squad. We had a bit of banter, a bit of a chat. We had a bite to eat. The club couldn't have been more helpful. It was fantastic. But then, at about 2:00, we were ushered out to the pitch, and Tom, as mascot, got to warm up on the pitch and pass the ball around, get involved. My daughter Izzy, who hadn't come with us, but she'd come along with her grandparents, she spotted us up in the south stand, and I said, "I'll go up and just go and check she's all right." I got up there into the seats and she said, Daddy, I want to be mascot. And I said, well, you can't. It's not your day. It's Tom's. And, you know, he's a boy, so therefore he's more important. I love him more. And she said, Daddy, that's factually incorrect. She's 5. She's very bright. So I said, no, come on down for a couple of minutes and, you know, you can come and see what it's like. Anyhow, within 5 minutes, she was on the pitch kicking a ball around with Glenn Louvens. I gave her our camera for a couple of minutes. And she started wandering up to Wednesday players. Like, when's Gary Hooper? And go, Gary, smile. Started taking photos. By the end, I actually honestly think that by 3 o'clock, she was almost named in the starting 11. I think Carlos was actually going to put her on there to give her a debut. But no, as it happened, it was fantastic. You know, right down to as the teams came out, Tom did the bit. You know, he's the mascot. He's got, you know, walked out with Gary Taylor Fletcher. It was a cut price effort. He walked out with Fletch and we did the whole bit. In the meantime, Carlos kind of sidles out with a bit of a sheepish grin on his face. And my wife, bless her, you know, I know she's paid for it. She's entitled to do what she wants. She decided to go full bore for Carlos. Oh, it wasn't just a handshake. It was I had to tell her, don't put the tongue in. He's not ready for that. I can tell you now, ladies and gentlemen, Carlos was ready for it. That tonic suit hides a lot of pent-up aggression. So we had a lovely time of it. We you know, handshakes, etc. I've got a great picture of Tom shaking hands with Carlos, and lo and behold, obviously Fletch with the player that he led out, and it was Fletch that scored the equaliser. So a good time was had by all. Sheffield Wednesday, thank you very much. It goes to show that it wasn't free. You know, this is Mr. Chan Series world, and we all live in it now. It costs some money to do it, but everyone at the club treated us absolutely fantastically, and I really hope that every Wednesday fan gets a chance to do something like that, because it was a beautiful experience, on what was a great day. So thank you to the club, and just thank you to the club. That'll do. Done.
I tell you what, I bet that's something you don't say much, is it, Eddie? Being a part of Wednesdayite back in the day, and all of a sudden, thank you to the club. You've changed your bloody stripes.
Some of us join Wednesdayite to bring a new positive aspect to that particular organisation.
Yeah, we went all off the charges on the ground. Yeah.
I tell you what, Eddie. To be fair, your young boy has had a hell of a year, hasn't he? A hell of a last 6 months. He was top boy back in London not 4 months ago, and now all of a sudden he's leading the bloody, you know, one of the best paid players out onto the pitch, while Izzy seems to be papping everybody.
You know what? I look back on some of my glory days, and most of my glory days came when I was, you know, maybe 17, 18, 19. That's what I look back as my favourite times in my life. I'm actually going to be gutted for Tom if he looks back and all of his best memories were before he hit puberty, because it goes to show that he had a horrible upbringing after that. So let's hope, Tom, and I hope you're listening to this in a few years' time. Let's hope that, as well as, you know, holding court with 500 Wednesday fans in Covent Garden, being the mascot, doing all the stuff that you do now, let's hope you finger some girls as well.
Hey! We lowered the tone. I thought we were a bit highbrow. There's Dan Fudge winding himself in. Here's Eddie gushing about his kids. We had to get a pony feeding gag in somewhere. Christ, kids, we're struggling there.
Here's a question. Where would you find all of the following in one place? Chairs, tables, beer, Vic, James, more beer, Dickie Owl, Eddie, more beer, and the rest of the Wednesday Week gang. That's right, it's the Riverside Cafe's new outside bar. All of your favourite lagers, ciders, soft drinks and hand pump ales are now available outside. Come and see the gang and give it a try. The Riverside Cafe's new outside bar, now open on match days.
Right, quickly moving on, ladies and gents, for goodness sake. Actually, Fudgy, over to you, because obviously we popped out at the beginning of the season that we've got a rather special sponsorship that's happening, which Fudge got taken care of. Congratulations, Fudge, and thank you for that. And we've been waiting really for Fudge to come back on in full swing so we can have a bit of a new feature that we'll probably never do again, called the Reda Roundup. Fudgy, let us know what's happening with Mr. Johnson.
I feel at this point that we need some kind of theme tune. So forget the song "Follow the Leader," and then everybody goes "Follow the Leader, Leader, Leader." And when it says "Leader," you just have me go "Reda." So anyway, Reda Johnson, we sponsor him. Plays for Eastleigh FC, not Eastleigh Town, because they get quite uppity about it nowadays. Sorry about that, Mark. What works in marketing? My apologies. So Reda, played 4 games as it stands right now. They've just they're on the back of a 1-1 draw with Forest Green. Before that, I was there on Saturday. They played Southport. He's forming quite the partnership with Cresswell at the back, and they're right up my street. These two, it's like, they're 2 centre backs that remind me of, to kind of to bring it up to date, Aidan Flint. They're just proper big, absolute Carlton Palmer perpetual motion machines. And in his first 2 appearances for the Spitfires, as they're known, Raiders scored 2 goals in 2 appearances, and not the best of fortunes the last 2 games, but it's absolutely fantastic. The chairman, Mr. Donald, that's bought the club, has pumped in £5.5 million into Eastleigh, and they're going to have a hell of a season. They need to stop conceding some silly goals and play better football, as most teams do, to be fair. But there's something happening at Eastleigh, and get a player of Reda's calibre. It's impressive to watch, because he's like the superstar, and to listen to another team singing Raider's name, I love it. I genuinely think it's amazing, and I think it's great, because I mean this is non-league as well. You've got the clubhouse where the players eat their dinner, and that's where the fans have their dinner as well. Essentially, the ones that are going for the full package. So you got the players having their dinner. It's amazing. It's genuinely amazing, and I went to go and see Lee Peacock last week, actually. He was back off his 6-month-long holiday, so I went to go and see him at the club.
Carry your coat.
Well, I said to him, well, look, seeing as Reda Johnson's turned up, your coat's gone to shit now. You know what I mean? I've got Raider's beard to shave. Do you know what I mean? And his feet to wash. But what he did, he kind of wound me up. So I went to go and see him, and he went, if you stick around, Fudgy, Reda will be done in 5 minutes. Get yourself a photo, can't you? I went, I'm all right. I'm not like a little fangirl. What's the matter with you? He went, yeah, you are. I went, yeah, all right, then. Yeah, I'll wait for a photo.
To be fair, Fudge, let's be honest. And I'm going to take a picture of this right now, right? Bearing in mind that Fudge is not a fangirl. James, would you like to describe Fudge's Skype photograph?
Well,
what is
yes. So it's a photo of you sat in the front seat of a car, with the camera aimed at an angle whereby you can see who's sat in the back of the car. Yep. So who would that be?
He's my first and only man crush. You know what I mean?
With a beard.
Yeah. He's my new best friend.
Was that from the Brighton excursion?
It's from Wembley. That one we drove up to Wembley, and he sat in the back of the car. Is he wearing double denim as well?
He is double denimed up, yeah.
It's weird, because the reason I took that photo was to send it to Adele from Bewitched and say, have you seen his double denim ensemble? But yes, he was my first man crush, because he's a big shit kicker of a striker, and he's right up my avenue, is Lee Peacock. That is lovely.
So is Reda are they looking after Reda for us?
They are. I mean, to be fair, I was speaking to their CEO, and he said that they're a CEO, yeah, because I've got access to the CEO, because it's non-league. It's brilliant. So he was telling me about how it came about that they signed him, and a bit of a Wednesday week exclusive. They signed him because, and this is such a convoluted story, they interviewed Nigel Worthington for the Eastleigh job at the back end of last season, and he didn't get it, but they have the same agent or the same fixer, as it were. Anyway, a guy that knew Nigel Worthington knows Reda Johnson's agent, and it just all came about like that. And they didn't give Nigel the job because they said he was a bit too technical for non-league. You know what I mean? Ergo, they ended up with Ronnie Moore, which you can kind of you can see there, can't you? You know what I mean? But yeah, it's a great little setup, and I appreciate it's the other end of the country. So if you do have the opportunity to go to Hallam, if you get to go to Mexborough or Maltby Main or wherever, if you get to go and see some non-league low-level football, it'll make you fall in love back in with the sport a little bit, and you'll get to appreciate when you go and watch, a higher level, just how much these guys put the body on the line and really go for it, and how well people move, and how brilliant Kieran Lee is at covering every yard on the pitch.
Fudge, can I test your Eastleigh knowledge, please?
Go on. I've only got
Why are they called the Spitfires?
Something to do with airplanes and world wars, isn't it?
Right. I thought that might be it. Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Spitfires, war. I think it's got something to do with. Didn't they make something in Eastleigh to do with Spitfires? Is that a thing? Good.
We'll call that the answer, Obi.
Yeah, planes.
Right then, ladies and gents, so let's crack on, shall we? Of course, we've got the Birmingham game coming up. We're off on us travels, and we're off to play the Brum. Going to be an interesting one, this one, because Brum have been doing quite well just recently, haven't they?
Two teams kind of in form, sort of in form, although mixed starts to the season for both teams. I'm going to say something here that I don't think I've ever said before, which is that earlier on he said something. Dan Fudge was absolutely right about something, and
Yes.
Oh my word!
Yes, come now. This is a show for first for Dan Fudge here, by the way. He's reining himself in. He's getting things correct.
I honestly cannot recall me ever saying it before, but you mentioned about the fact that at the moment we are all on a bit of a high because we've won our last 2 games. However, they were rewarding circumstances as we came from behind, but less than convincing, shall we say? And that's not a pattern that we can continue with. It's not a formula. You're not going to be challenging for the top 6 if you're going behind in every single game. I think there's only been the Villa match so far this season where we've scored first. We've gone behind in every other game since then. And yeah, we said last week 6 points was essential. We got them, but we said 6 points was essential because we were playing teams that we thought we should be beating, comfortably-ish if we're going to be up there or thereabouts. And we made relatively hard work of it. Birmingham is a slightly different proposition because they are, they've been building for a few years. They're a pretty decent team. They're another team that I like their manager. I think that he's doing a good job there. And if we get this wrong on Saturday, we could get a good hiding. So I think we treat the last 2 games, the 6 points we've got, as a turning point in our season, and we go out on Saturday and we get it right from the start this time, and we make it 3 wins from 3.
Can anybody see past Bannon and Leeds in the middle of the park for the Birmingham game?
No, Leeds is a defender, isn't he? So he'll be playing in defence.
I apologise. It's been a long day. Bannon and Lee in the middle. Can anybody see past this? Because honestly, I just can't.
I think they complement each other very well when it comes to whose role is what going forward. And I can't believe we've not mentioned it actually. The goal that Bannon scored. It's nice to see that the Bannon worldies are back. The inter-club goal of the month tournament that came back, last season at Hillsborough. I'm glad to see that's back. But yeah, it's
just going at it.
Yeah. And then Matthias comes in with bash. What you saying, winner? But yeah, I think Bannon and Lee are the centre midfielders for us. It gives the opportunity for Fletch to bomb on, gives the opportunity to the wingers to do what they do, and I think it's the one for me because I'm gay for Kieran Lee.
Aren't we all? Do you know what else I realised earlier on as well? When I think it was Rich that mentioned it, I'd forgotten that they had a penalty last night because that just became kind of so secondary to some of the other stuff that happened in the game and that happened last night. I forgot that Hutch got sent off, didn't he? Which I thought was maybe a tad unlucky because he appeared to actually just fall over and take the player with him. But in a strange sort of way, this could kind of be a bit of a blessing in disguise, couldn't it? Because
Sasso at the back for a full game.
No, well, as long as Louvens is fit, it could be a blessing in disguise because Hutch would probably benefit from a rest for a game. I assume it's just a 1-game ban, but I'd completely forgotten about that.
I mean, I said it last week about these 2 games coming up, but Birmingham are at a particular level, aren't they? And we need to be beating teams at that particular level to prove what we're going to do for the rest of the season. Right then, ladies and gentlemen, does anybody have any little bits for this evening?
Yeah, well, we've won 2 football games this week. It's been a dramatic week in Sheffield Wednesday land. The single most important piece of Sheffield Wednesday related news this week, which is something I discovered around about 12 minutes to 3 on Saturday before the Wigan game, when something astounding happened on my arrival at Hillsborough. I was with my mate John, and we said, right, 12 minutes to kick off. We've got time for a quick pint, haven't we? It'll have to be a Guinness because that's all they sell here. And we turned to have a look, and there was almost like the sky split, and the sun shined beautifully on these 2 actual proper real ale pumps on the north stand at Hillsborough. There was like a halo shining above them. It was just a thing of absolute beauty that we now have an SWFC bitter and an SWFC pale ale. I say we now have. We had it against Wigan. They'd run out on Tuesday night. So, that's probably it. We'll never see them again. But you know what as well? I'm a big fan of pale ales. And it was actually really nice. It was a nice beer. I enjoyed drinking it. So, we talked a few weeks ago about them getting out of the contract that they were in to take the catering back in-house. And I think, that's step one and shows us that they're listening to what fans are saying. They're trying to do some really good stuff, and I think that was a fantastic first step. And a very nice beer from Chantry Brewery in Rotherham. I expected a boo there, and no one did it. Oh well, that was that didn't work. I'll shut up now.
Boo!
Yay! Thank you.
I've got a few little bits for this evening, actually, ladies and gents. So the first one is actually just a couple of tweets have been sent. First one from at Rogers Ash, or Ash Rogers is probably known in real life. I don't know if you saw this. Ash did really, really well. At the end of the game yesterday, clearly the chaps over there at the Sheffield Star had their article ready and raring to go, because at the end of the article it does mention that the home side pushed for a winner but to no avail, and after a manic second period both sides had to settle for a point. Well done, Sheffield Star. Spot on, chaps. Of course, we're friendly with those gentlemen now, so it's absolutely fantastic. Right then, ladies and gents, so that's going to bring us towards the end of this week's show. Fudgy, old bean, let's get it done quickly before you melt away again. If people want to find you over there on the podcast, where can we do that?
I am at Dan Fudge on Twitter. If you want to pop on, if you also want to catch up with Dan and anything about Bristol City, he's Dan Waters 86 as well. Get involved if you want. Tell him his accent's crap.
Richie Albeen, if people want to send you more news about Mr. Bez Wetherick or Constable PC Bez Wetherick, where can we do that?
I'd love to receive more information about PC Bez Wetherick, but you can find me at Dickie Owl on Twitter.
Is it obligatory to say his name like you're drunk? Bez Wetherick?
James E. Albeen, if you want to find you over there on the socials, where can we do that?
At James Marriott in Birmingham on Saturday. I've really screwed this up because obviously the game got moved, didn't it, to a 5:30 kickoff because it's on that there Sky. But we didn't change our train booking, so we arrive in Birmingham at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. So it is going to be quite the session. I think we're heading to a pub called the Wellington. But anyone that wants to come along for a beer, drop me a tweet on Saturday and let's hook up.
You're going to be so asleep before kickoff. So far asleep, it's going to be hilarious.
Look, there's a fair chance that might happen.
Boy, James.
We'll see. Keep an eye on Snapchat. We'll see what happens.
No. The next time you take your blondies to the pub there, Jay, and they ask for one of your blondies, just tell them no, Albeen. I think they've been terribly mean towards you.
They can get bollocks. I'm not letting them have any more of my bacon goodness ever again.
And Eddie Albeen, if people want to get hold of you over there on the socials, where can we do that?
You can find me on Instagram at Easy in Rose. That's Vincent's Instagram. You can find me on both Instagram and on Twitter at Sausage Arms.
Fantastic. Of course, you can get all of the podcasts over there at TWW Cast. You can get all of me over there on the Twitter as well at Lord H. That's L0RD_H. And of course, you can find us on the Facebooks, on the YouTubes, and in all the usual places as well. Ladies and gents, it's been a pleasure as always. Be good, be safe.
And we'll see you real soon.
Real soon.
There's a chance here, a great save by Turner from McClare. Might come a terrific goal by Sheridan. Brexman against Jones. Get in.
You could have two goalkeepers in there that would have trouble saving that.
With Cresswell and with Johnson. Bear with me, hold the phone, guys. Tell him I'm just cashing up and I'll be with him in 5 minutes. I'll call him back. All right. Sorry, I am at work. Where was I? He's phoned me.
Can I give a very quick mention as well to Kieran Lee, because I thought he was awesome last night. I thought particularly first half. Oh, did you do that? All right, just ignore me. I'm a dickhead.
Right, yeah, carry on.
I wasn't. I was reading the messages on our silly conversation, so I wasn't taking any notice. So I'm just a dick. I'm sorry. All right.